What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. hELO, and welcome to Beyond Office Walls, navigating the remote work revolution. And today we have a very special guest. It's Rob Balasabas. You've all heard of him. You've seen him in different companies working around and doing a lot of content, specifically a lot of content around the globe, right? A lot of places that he's been. He's been traveling a lot as of late. Probably as of late, no. Probably the past I don't know, 3, 4 years. He's been traveling a lot. We've learned a lot with him through his different jobs. Now he's at Uscreen. So it's really, really nice to have him here. But before, we want to welcome you to Beyond Office Walls, the podcast where we explore the exciting world of remote work and its impact on our lives, careers, and the future of work. I'm your host, Dr. Elo, and in each episode, we'll dive deep into the remote work revolution, bring you insightful conversations with experts, remote work success stories, and practical tips to help you thrive in this new era of work. Whether you're a seasoned remote worker just starting your remote work journey or an employer navigating the future of work, this podcast is your go to source for all things remote work. So grab your headphones, pick up your favorite remote work spot, grab your coffee, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. All right. Well, Rob, welcome to Beyond Office Walls. Let me put Rob here in with me. And what's going on, my friend? I haven't seen you in a while, man. We haven't spoke for a while. I know that
I
you've been
know.
very busy, man.
I know. It's been too long, Dr. Elo. Thank you so much, man. I've been good. Thank you for having me on the show. This is a great topic. I don't get to talk about it too often, but really excited to kind of chop it up with you. There's a lot definitely around the, remote work world that I've been around the block for a while now doing that. That's sort of been my lifestyle with my jobs and my career for the last few years, like you said. So yeah, really excited to dive deep into this. And congratulations again on this podcast, man. I think it's going to
Thank you,
be a
man.
great resource for a lot of people.
Awesome, man. So let's get to know a little about Rob. But before that, I'm gonna pass through a little bit about the questions that we have for Rob today.
Sure.
And the first one is, who is Rob? Who is Rob Balasabas? Obviously, right? And we're gonna jump into how can remote workers effectively set boundaries between work and personal life. What are some of the common challenges people face when working remotely? In a world of remote work, is increasingly prevalent. What are the key differences in how people manage work life? And last question, but not least, uh, he's going to share some practical tips and best practices for
Hmm.
individuals and organizations to promote work life balance in a remote work environment. All right. So, Rob, let's jump into the first question. Who is Rob Balasabas?
Yeah, it's a really good question, man. That's too deep. That's too deep. But yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, a little bit about me. Rob Balasabas. Right now, my career is not really who I am, but the easiest way we identify sometimes is our work. And so I'm head of partnerships and community at a company called uscreen.tv, like Dr. Elo mentioned. Previous to that, I've been in tech for quite some time now. Before Uscreen, I was with another company called TubeBuddy, which is a YouTube tool, and then before that, I was with a company called Thinkific, and have been. That's where I kind of started working sort of hybrid, remote, and also in office. But outside of work, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. We have a young family. We're based here in Vancouver. I've been in Vancouver since I was about, in grade school. And before that, I was living in the Philippines, before my family immigrated here to Canada and really have planted my roots here. And so that's a little bit about me. I enjoy coffee just like Dr. Elo does over here. And, I enjoy creating content and I enjoy building community. It's part of me. Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit about me there.
Yeah, and the good thing is that I know that this to be very true because I've been in several of Rob's communities. It's has always been really open, really different from different communities where there's like a structure. about a hierarchy. There's still a trust
Mm,
structure, but there's a hierarchy to talk to somebody, man. And you're one of the creators that just talks to anybody, and you're really open and really friendly to everybody. So we all
mm.
learn better, I think, in this way, right?
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, I mean, community. I know community is. I guess in terms of like remote work, honestly, Dr. Elo, it's been one of the things I think that's really helped me carry through, like to enjoy remote work. I mean, remote work is like by nature, you're kind of by yourself a lot of times, right? In your
Right.
home or, at a coffee shop. And even if you're working at a coffee shop or a WeWork or something like that, right? You tend to still be kind of alone, right? Unless you're making connections and so yeah, the community that you build around your day, whether it's like a virtual community or even in person, at these places, with like-minded people. It'll carry you through. It'll carry you through. There's a lot of pros and cons with remote work, and community, I feel, can be a really big con if you don't address it and kind of make a intentionally build it around yourself. Remote work might be short-lived.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
so the topic for today is balancing work and life, navigating remote work challenges, and setting that boundaries,
Mm.
which is really important. And if you're gonna
Yeah.
be doing work from home, I work hybrid work, so I go into the office once every no, actually once every week, but
Hmm.
um, I'm gonna enter now into two times per week. So
Mm.
in December,
Mm.
which is totally fine. I'll go downtown here to DC. I take the metro.
Mm.
Sleep on the metro. To be honest, I listen to podcasts. I do enjoy my time while I go there. Now,
Yeah.
the only thing that kills me is whenever I get there and people decide to stay in the office on a Teams call. I'm like,
Mm.
why are we not? We're here. Let's go to the conference room and do what we're supposed to do here. Because if not, might as well just stay home.
Yeah. Yeah, so true, so true. What are we doing? What are we doing a
All right.
Zoom call when we're all together? Yeah, yeah, that is a little ironic. Yeah,
I had
that's funny.
my previous boss, he left the agency, and she used to come to my cube, right, to my office,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
tell me, all right, can we meet? It's like, yeah, we can meet. Now, do you want me to meet in your office? Or you want to meet in mine? Oh no, that I'll call you via Teams. I'm like, what?
What? Why?
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
Oh my
funny. That's
god.
funny. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, there boundaries, I think, to your question, I think that's an important one to set, because my setup here with Uscreen is that there's about 150 of us, right? To kind of paint the picture, there's 150 of us that work at Uscreen, roughly, give or take. And we're in, I think, 20 or 25 different countries. So lots of time zones, lots of things, right? And so one of the first things that I did, and I think a lot of team members do, is to, we're on Google, right? We're on Google Calendars, and we're on Google Suite as a company. And so you can do this with Outlook, I believe. You can do this on other calendar platforms. Is to set your working hours. When are you available? Right? When are you available? So that, hey, this time I'm not available. Earlier than this, this is my 8 hours or whatever time you are available for meetings, for calls, that sort of thing. So then everybody respects that, right? That's got to be part of the culture, is that, hey, if you're remote, we got to respect each other's boundaries here, right? So don't book me for a call when I'm sleeping, right? And so making that really easy. So setting your work hours on your calendar is just very clear. I also do like the idea that calendars are visible to anybody on the team. So if I wanted to go and see your schedule, for example, we work together, I could go into your calendar and just take a look. When are you free? When are you available? That makes sense. I also then go ahead and, on very actively each week, I take a look at my calendar, and I've got time there that I set for heads down time, focus time, right? Otherwise, your calendar can get filled really quickly, right? Everybody's booking time into your calendar and all those sorts of things. I also have time there for lunch, as silly as it is, and you're working by yourself. You control your own schedule. I set time for lunch. I set time for a walk in the afternoon. I set time when, at least once a week, I want to pick up my kids from school. It's one of the perks of working from home is being able to be present for your family if you have one. And so I put that on the calendar, like, don't book me here. I'm picking up my kids. Everybody respects that, right? That work life balance, mentality. And so, really controlling your calendar, I think that's like ongoing, very intentional every week. Typically on Sunday evenings or Monday morning, I'm looking at my calendar. What's the week ahead? Um, what are the things I need to protect? What's the time I need to protect? What are some meetings that can also become an email or a Slack message, right? So that way you're not spending time on Zoom all day every day, right? And so what are some of those meetings that can be just a message or an email, or maybe a video message, right? I use technology to your advantage. So I use tools like Loom or Tela.tv, for example, to send a video message. And then that usually can eliminate one or two meetings in the week. That's an hour, half an hour, 2 hours back, of your time where you can think through things, right? Yeah, so those are some things there, Dr. Elo, I would say, is like really control and be actively controlling, and not letting your calendar run your life, right?
And
Otherwise, you,
and
you,
it's
you don't have
important
time to do
too,
anything.
and it's really important too that you follow your own rules because you don't follow them, nobody else is gonna follow them for you. So if you start calling people on your off hours,
Hmm.
they have the authority or think they have the authority to call you back at the same hour. So if you work
Yeah,
8 to 5, which is a regular, work day, and
yeah,
you happen to start calling people at 7 p.m. afterwards, it's, oh, remind me this and that. It's gonna happen. They're gonna call you back at 7 p.m. and then you're not gonna be able to let go, which kind of sucks.
totally, totally, totally. You can't. And so, looking at, to what you're just saying now, like we use Slack, for example. And so with Slack, you can tell when somebody is not working right now. If you integrate your calendar with Slack, for example, if there's an integration between your communication platform like Slack or Discord and your calendar, Slack and Google Calendar work really well together. It will say when you're messaging somebody, this person is not online, meaning they're not working, right now. So you can either schedule this message right on Slack to go to them at say 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. their local time, whenever they're going to be working. That way you're not messaging them anyway in the middle of the night. You never know. Most people have notifications turned off, but sometimes they don't, and you just don't want to be that person that's, sending them a message about something that can wait till the next day or when they're back to work or when they're on vacation or something. And so just schedule that when they're back, just as a courtesy. Or you can just, if you really have to send the message and you're just sort of in a place where you have to send this message and you're going to forget later and you can't schedule the message for later, just start the message with say, this is not urgent. This can wait until Monday when you're back. But here's some thoughts or a question that I had. Right. And so you just want to respect that time.
Yeah. Here's the question before I forget, but please don't address it now. Just
Exactly.
whenever
There
you
you
get
go.
back to
So
work.
simple.
Yep.
So simple. Yeah. Yeah. Cause some people will be like, oh my gosh, oh man, it's an emergency. Like, let me, I'm
Scream,
like in the middle of
scream.
dinner. Let me open my phone and, not be present with my family. Right. So you don't want to put people in that place. Yeah.
True, true, true. So
Yeah.
this what we discussed right now, it's how can remote workers effectively set boundaries between work and personal life to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Rob gave us amazing. Well, you've been working for a while, so and I knew you had a lot of experience in this area because I think you've been how many years you've been working remote now? It's been a
I've been
while.
working really hybrid starting probably right before. I mean, I was doing the remote thing before the pandemic, hybrid
Exactly.
wise. So I want to say 2017, 2018 hybrid, 2019 I really went fully remote at TubeBuddy, and then just been since, so that's like 4 or 5 years now.
Never
Yeah,
looked
fully
back.
remote.
Yep. Yeah, you get experience and whenever you travel a lot too for different conferences to represent Uscreen and
Yes.
for yourself as well. You're a content creator as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
and you like traveling with the family too. So,
And the family too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, one more thing I'd love to add there in terms of
right.
boundaries is, actually two things is like your, again, use technology. So like autoresponders. When you're away, send it, set that autoresponder away. Hey, I'm away. I'm still working. I'm checking emails, but I'm traveling right now. I'm going to this conference. So I may take a day or two, delay. If it's a real, emergency, or it's an urgent thing, here's, somebody on my team that can handle that right away. Setting that up is like so basic, so simple. You can just copy and paste it every time you go away, you're traveling. I think that's really important. The other thing is, in terms of setting your work-life balance and boundaries, I really like Dr. Ilo. You'll rarely find me checking or replying to emails on Saturdays, just because I take that day as a day of rest. And with my family, it's just our rhythm every single week. And so, regardless if like there's got to be a really big emergency for me to like reply to something or address or open my Slack message on a Saturday. And I let people know that, like, hey guys, you won't see me. Sometimes it's even my autoresponder on my email. Hey guys, like, thanks for the email, but I'll get back to you on Monday. Um, and people will respect you for that. People don't expect you. I think this is one of the things when you're working remotely. There's a lot of like guilt of like having this flexibility that then you feel like you have to work all the time. You have to be available all the time, because your phone's with you. Like, hey, you got my message. You must have gotten my message. You have a phone with you, right? Like,
Hmm.
why didn't you reply? Like, why
Zero
didn't you get
guilt,
back
my
to me?
friend. Zero guilt for me.
Yeah.
I work from 7 to 3:30 p.m.
And I'm done.
30 p.m. I turn that work computer off, and that's it. And the only reason I do live streams during the week, and during the week I mean Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, and Thursday, I do
Mm-hmm.
content creation. So anything related. You won't see me
Yeah.
on a Friday, on a Monday, on the weekend, unless you see something that's already been scheduled that's going on that time or date. But
Yeah.
me putting like this podcast goes out on Friday,
Mm.
every other Friday, but that doesn't mean that I'm working. It's
Yeah.
automatic. I set it
That's
up
right.
on Thursday for that, and the weekends are for my family. For me, I don't. Yeah, hell no, not at all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You need those days.
Yeah,
If your leadership should know that too, and like, you need those days. If you're not getting rest, you're gonna be a horrible team member. You're gonna be not productive. It's not about how many hours you're working. You got to be on the call, on the phone, 24/7. That's not productive. That's
Grumpy
like
George, Grumpy George.
grumpy George, man. You don't want that. You don't want that.
Right, Rob. So, what are some common challenges people face when working remotely, and what strategies can they employ to overcome these challenges?
It's great, man. Good question. I think the biggest challenge, and again, so many out there, but the biggest challenge is discipline. Discipline yourself, because nobody's looking over your shoulder. Your supervisor, your manager's not walking around the office and seeing what you're working on. Are you cruising Facebook instead, or watching YouTube videos instead of working? Nobody's doing that. And so again, depending on the role, there's a lot of roles out there that's like, for example, support based, or technical support, or where there's clearly metrics, like, and there's some tools out there that I know some companies use. I'm not really for it at all, where they're monitoring what you're working and they're taking random screenshots of your screen, and like, are you really working, that sort of thing. I don't believe that. I'm really against that strategy. And so for most people that are working remotely, it's really discipline. It's like, can you still be focused? Can you still do work when nobody's looking over your shoulder, right? That's, I think, one of the biggest challenge for a lot of people, right? And you give people the leash to do what they want all day, and you're not looking over their shoulder. It's hard to stay focused. Start to stay focused. And so for me, early on, I kind of recognized this, and so I make myself accountable to somebody. And so Monday, and my leader right now on our team, she's great with this, because she practices what she's also asking people to do. Is like, every Monday morning, just share what's your priorities this week. What are you working on? What's the 3 or 4 things that you're working on, that by the end of the week you want to say, like, yeah, I did all that. I finished that. Those were things I worked on. And so you're accountable to somebody, right? Rather than I don't know, I'm just gonna go to work on Monday and see where it goes. On Monday morning, first thing, what are you working on? What's your priorities? let's loop back on Friday and see how progress with those, priorities that you set.
Don't wing it, man. That's it. Don't
Don't
wing
wing
it.
it. Don't wing it.
Plan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of planning involved with working remote, and a lot of discipline to follow what what you said you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
especially once you build that trust with your supervisor and with the people you work with, they get used to it. Now, if I believe I don't like micromanaging. I don't believe in
Mm,
micromanaging. If you're not doing your job, guess what? It will reflect in your work and what you're
yeah.
doing. You will miss deadlines, and that will automatically take you off the job anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't babysit anybody. I supervise as
No.
well, but I don't babysit anybody, and I've never
Yeah.
done it. Not even when I was active duty in the Coast Guard or I was doing present work. I just don't like it. I do
Yeah.
like to go around and speak to people because I like to speak to people and hey, how you guys doing? How was your weekend? Are you good for work this week? Is there anything I can do to help you achieve what you're doing? So I'll do the same rounds, but I do them online.
Mm,
I don't call, I don't call people. Like, hey,
hmm.
what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Work. I just, hey, do you have a minute so we can speak? If you have a
Yeah.
minute, fine. If not, just schedule something once a week and we'll know
Hmm.
what's going on. And that's it. Next.
That's it.
And sometimes if you can't do it during that week, that's fine. Our projects are long and our projects are freaking, they take years. So I'm not like dying for information anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, no pop-up meetings, no surprises, I mean, one of the things we try to do is there's always an agenda.
yeah,
And you have the right to ask the person that scheduled the meeting, and you don't if there's no agenda, you can either say no, I'm good, I'm not gonna, until there's an agenda, I'm good, I don't, you don't need to attend, and you're welcome to say no to that, and so I think that's just like whether you're remote or not, you should always have an agenda for a meeting. There should be no surprises, and also so that people can prepare for that meeting, right? People want to show up the best way possible, and so hey, tomorrow we've got a meeting, even though it's a weekly meeting, hey guys, here's a quick agenda, here's a brief that I'm working on, have a look at it. We'd love to discuss it with you tomorrow. Give people a day to think through some of the things. If you want them to show up anyway with fresh ideas, with good ideas, with things that are constructive and add value to what you're doing, then give them an agenda, so that they're not like, what are we here for? Oh, okay, you want to talk about that? Man, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to give right now, right? Because I just learned about what you want to talk about right now in the meeting. So at least give me a day. Give people a day. That way they can prepare their best thoughts, their best ideas, and bring it to the table at the meeting, right?
yeah, that's what I do. I usually do meetings on Wednesdays for the whole team. And basically, it's the same agenda every week. The only
Yep.
thing that I do have that I update on Mondays is I call it the burning pit. Like burning pit.
It's got to be
Anybody
the story. What's the story behind that?
there's a trash can and there's a burning trash can. That's how I see it. Is there anything that it's burning that it's really um it's gonna deter from our job, it's gonna take from our responsibilities? Is there's anything that we need to resolve now? So that's where I put it in that bucket, and that's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's all I do, and it works every single week. Updates first,
Mm-hmm.
and hey, burning pit. Who got something? All right, then we'll take care of it. We'll divide and conquer, and we'll go about our week. But I don't believe in Monday meetings too, as well. I do believe in
Mm.
Monday, um, like updates,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a text, an email, whatever. But
Yep.
I think by Wednesday, I think we should have a good grasp of what's going on during the week and what we can achieve until Friday. So
Yeah, it's good.
hump
Yeah,
day.
hump days. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It just came to mind. One of the things I also like to do, because we are so nobody, sometimes one of the things that happens with remote work is you're only talking to the people that you work very closely with each. week, or each month. Like the people that you just on your team, if you're marketing people, you're just talking to the marketing team people all the time, and you don't get to talk to product or support or other team members. I like to just sort of like, hey, this week, who have I not ever spoken to, or who's joined a team that, I haven't spoken to, or somebody I haven't spoken to in a while. I'll just message them like, hey, it's been a while. Like, what are you up to? Would love to grab a virtual coffee with you, or just like grab a, 15 minutes, just catch up, hear what you're working on. How's life? Um, and those are some of my favorite calls. Like, it just takes 15, 20 minutes, and just, it's like, what's happening? Like, what's happening outside of like Slack or, emails and all this other stuff. And the really fun part is that since we are so remote, everybody's in different places. I get to hear what's happening. Like today, I actually got to talk to Sonia on our team. She's on our SEO team, and she lives in Northern Macedonia. I had to look it up. I
Wow.
had to look it up. Like, hey, cool. Like, what's like over there? I've always wanted to visit that city and all the stuff, and got to talking about other stuff and Philippines and all this. And yeah, so encourage you to just reach out. Maybe you're in a smaller team, but especially if you're in a bigger team, new team members could join. It could be months before you talk to them because it's the team is so big now, right?
Different environment too. So yeah, it makes sense. So
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that being said, in a world where remote work is increasingly prevalent, right?
Hmm.
What are the key differences in how people manage work-life balance compared to the traditional based work?
Mm.
Other than obviously the commute, which everybody knows here in DC, the commute sucks. It's hard. And that's one of the things that I'm very thankful for because I have the opportunity to be more present with my family and not
Hmm.
not in a bus with a stranger or in the metro with somebody screaming in there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what are those differences compared to traditional office-based work?
That's a great question. First of all, I actually didn't know. I forgot that you were in DC, and now I know. Again, good reminder, because our head office is in DC. It's in Gathan. Is it Gaithersburg?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah,
Maryland. Yeah, yeah. So we have
nearby.
an office over. Yeah. So next time
Yeah,
I'm going
last
there,
time we did contact, but you were in DC and I was in somewhere else. So yeah,
somewhere else.
you know,
life, but yeah, no, that's yeah, so yeah, now I know. Yeah, it's lots more and more people are working remotely. I think companies are finding this. There's also, like, depending on who you ask, a lot of companies are also pulling their team members back into the office. And yeah, you're right. So there's some really key differences. I think the biggest one that I would probably feel is well, other than commute, man, Dr. Elo, last week I went to WeWork in the city, and so it was like a half an hour drive to the train, and then another 45 minutes to get into the city. So it's like an hour and a half almost to get to
like,
WeWork from where we are in the suburbs here in Vancouver. And that was a nightmare. I'm like, I can't believe people do this every day. But I think that's one of the key differences. The other one, though, is really related to that, which is a lot of people that working remotely have a hard time clocking out. Right? It's the opposite. It's like it's like I remember when I first started working remotely, I was like, man, it's already 7, 8, 9 p.m. Like I missed dinner. Like it's upstairs, because I'm here, and it's like, I get to work remote. Like, why would I would be still on the train anyway. So I'm just going to keep working, couple more emails, couple more, let me spend some time on this strategy document for a little longer. And so I think there's like that again early, especially, if you're that type of person that kind of feels like I should always do more, and also B, which is harder to control, is that if that's the culture of your company, is to work longer than really what you're supposed to, and if you don't, that's kind of looked down upon, and so you kind of forced to do that. Those are not good places to be in. But I feel like that is very common, if you don't want to address it, and if you don't set those boundaries like we talked about
yeah,
earlier, right? And for me, I've learned, it's like, hey, no matter what happens, I'm gonna have dinner with my family. Like
yeah,
at
yeah.
least 5:30, 6 p.m. I'm gonna have dinner, clock out. Same thing with the weekends. I had a friend actually reach out to me, say, "Hey, Rob, would love to have you on a live stream." it's a really good opportunity, but saying, you know what, I can only do it on Saturday or Sunday. It's like I can't. Like that's those days are I
Sacred.
can't do that.
That's
So we're making time for a weekday. So there you go. So
yeah.
sometimes you got to push back.
Yeah, that's the way it is, and that culture about people working a lot, um, past the hours that they're supposed to. I'm one that, oh man, I'm telling you, not with me, bro. I've always made it very, very obvious that at 3:30, I'm just gone. I don't care
I'm
who
done.
do I work for. These are my work
Mm-hmm.
hours, unless there's a burning pit stuff that really needs my attention and it's gonna be on the news or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll stay because I've stayed one time in the
Yeah.
past 40 years until 11 o'clock at night, but we're
Yeah.
closing the project. That's a 4-year project. We're closing it. I get it. I will do that. But
Mm-hmm.
the rest of the time, like regularly, heck no. At
No.
3:30,
Yeah.
my right foot is out of that door if I'm over there. And at 3:30, my computer is doing toot toot, turning
It's
itself
done.
off really quick. I don't
Right.
care. I've never cared. I've always maintained a really good priority of my work hours. Now, it's the
Good.
same. At 7 a.m., I'm there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there a minute before or a minute after. I've done the same deal if it's online or it is in the office. I've always been the same way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm military as well, so I'm really like stressed with time. I'm
Right.
right there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Be really punctual. Yeah, that's great. That's
Always.
great. Yeah, it's great for leaders to do that, right? Leaders set the tone. I happen, I also oversee a team, and I tell them like, hey, when I'm traveling, I may respond. Like if I'm this is a thing. This is sort of counter, but when I'm traveling, for example, for a family vacation, every few days I may check emails, even though I'm on vacation. A reason I do that is because I don't want to come back to 1,000 emails.
To a burning pit.
So yeah, so it's like, hey, like when I'm traveling and I'm on vacation, I'm on PTO, all that stuff. You may see me respond to an email or send, check through Slack, might respond to a message or two, and that's something that's just I like to do that myself. I don't expect you to do that. When you're on vacation, you're welcome to uninstall Slack. Tell people you're not replying to emails until you get back. That's the expectation. That's the same expectation my manager has to of me. But I just know that when I come back and I don't check my emails, I don't kind of clean. I'm like the stress level is so high because now I'm like the weight of like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of vacations, like 1,000 emails, and so I just check to when kids are sleeping after and like I'm just like 30 minutes when I'm on vacation every few days,
Yeah.
just clean through the
That,
inbox. Is there any
that,
fires, anything I can like just forward to somebody? Because like, hey, it's sitting in my inbox. Hey, let me forward to somebody that can address this right now. It just kind of got rerouted. um yeah, and again, helps a lot.
everybody does it once in a time. What I've been doing is that whenever I go on a vacation, my
Hmm.
work computer stays at home. That's exactly unless I know I have a big project and I
Yep.
have, a vacation schedule already from last year, and there's a very important meeting that I can't miss during that
Mm,
time frame. I'll allocate 1 hour and do the meeting, but I'll let it be known this is
yep.
1 hour, and this is because I scheduled my vacation a year ago,
Yep.
and I happen to have this meeting that I can't miss during this time. So
Right.
that's it.
Right. That's
Usually,
it.
if I don't have anything, I'll leave the computer right there in the desk. I have no
Yeah.
shame. If there's an emergency, call me. My knowledge is here. I can give you whatever
Yeah.
I have here. But the
Exactly.
computer, not at all.
Don't need it. Don't need it. Yeah. No, it's great. That's great. I'm all for that. I'm all for that for sure.
All right. So, can you share some practical tips and best practices for individuals and organizations to promote work life balance in a remote work environment, especially
Mm,
considering the potential for blurred lines between work
yeah.
and personal life?
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I think that I want to share here is that you really need to take an extra step and be intentional with recognizing your team members, especially if you're in leadership and it's a remote environment. When you're in the office, really, it's really easy to like, hey, it's lunch, hey, hey, or like there's a board where you get to recognize different team members and things like that. Like, hey, look what they did. Like, hey, congratulations. Like, hey, everybody get together here in the town hall and let's give it up for Dr. Elo. He just closed this big deal, and whatever it is, right? And so in a remote environment, the office is really Slack or Discord or Teams or whatever. Really go the extra mile. If there's even a specific channel where you get to recognize team members, I think that's a really good idea. But if there isn't, take the step like, hey, had a really good call, this person really helped me out, shout out to so and so for doing this. That kind of goes a long way, right? Because again, you have to think, every team member is the same. They're just kind of at home or wherever, a coffee shop. They don't get that recognition. They're not always seen, right? Versus like in a in-person office environment, you may have lunch or get together more often, and you can like just really easily like, hey, you guys can't believe what Dr. Elo did for me this morning. Help me out with this massive client, and fast tracked, landing that deal or whatever it is. And so recognizing team members regularly, make it part of your day, right? And once you start that, whether you're in leadership or not, once you start that culture, people feel it when they're recognized, then they also can start recognizing others, right? I think it's kind of a, domino effect once you start that, that sort of culture, that practice.
And people start liking to do stuff for others as well, and they start to pay it forward, which is really really cool.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, do that. And then yeah, for the organizations that have the screen monitoring thing, unless you really need it for whatever reason, uh just get rid of it.
If you need
People
to
don't.
monitor somebody that bad, just get him out or get her.
Yeah, you got.
You don't need
Yeah,
to babysit anybody. We're all
don't need to.
adults. And we're people that that we're working for a living. If you can appreciate what you're doing for the money that you're gonna get, specifically, you're working so you can afford food.
Yeah.
Your basics. Why
Right.
are you not
Right.
taking your stuff seriously if you're not willing to do that because I don't know, you have a alternate plan or goal elsewhere?
Mhm.
Kick rocks. You don't
Yeah.
need to be babysitting anybody. There's no reason for it.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be babysitting. You want to, approach it, take a different approach of like take the fear tactic out of it, and need you probably need to set a better vision or
Mhm.
refresh the vision for the team so that they know what they're working towards, and then that is worth more than
Absolutely.
potentially slacking off or doing other things that are like, hey, I need to work. I need to like, I want to be part of this thing. I
Yeah.
want to be part of whatever's being built here in this company, right? So that's probably a more powerful, you get better results and more powerful results that way than like, hey, we're watching you, like we're watching you. You better do stuff, yeah, people perform better when they know also that they're trusted, right? They're empowered.
Hey Johnny,
Um,
I checked the metrics and you're not working your 8 hours.
yeah.
No,
No.
I'm good.
No, 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 that's not good.
Poor Johnny.
That's not good. That's something broken there that you need to fix.
Absolutely. That's a cultural thing, actually. That's a cultural thing. The
Absolutely.
office culture, and yeah, it
Yeah.
gets really toxic. I've
Yeah,
been in
absolutely.
environments like those,
Mhm.
and I don't even
No
want it
good.
for my worst enemy, to be honest. It's that
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you finish working the day you start on a Monday, wishing it was a Friday. You don't feel motivated. You don't want to do anything. You're like, oh, everything I do is wrong. No, you know what? Nah, you need to get out of there as
Yeah,
soon as possible, or get the people
yeah,
who are making that toxic environment out, which I have
yeah,
done
yeah.
before.
Yeah, that's a once you get there, that's a real big problem to fix. I think that's a really difficult one too, right? Because it's really, really like, it could be the person, it could be again the mission of the company, it could be culture, it could be the leader, like the man, like
It's
that's
sad.
a that's yeah. Yeah, yeah, you don't wanna get there, you don't wanna get there, and I think there's things that you can put in place, again, some of the best practices there, I think, transparency, right? Transparency, access. Sometimes with remote teams, even more so in office culture, right? When people are in the office, sometimes it's easy to like, "Hey, the CEO is right here, cool." Like, "Hey, CEO, you want to grab coffee?" Or, "Hey, are you heading to the lunchroom?" "Me too. Yeah, let's go walk and talk real quick," right? And so access is so easy. Whereas when you are remote, it's a little awkward sometimes because sometimes the CEO is so distant, or the leadership is so distant, or you know one or like two or three. Maybe you're talking to your manager, but very rarely do you ever talk to your manager's manager, right? And so it's really hard to kind of hear what they're working on or their vision and things like that. And so as a leadership team, I think you need to be more vocal, you need to be transparent, open door policy. I remember a company where, hey, you can like there's like a office hours that the CEO, some of the execs would hold office hours, like, hey, every month I'm available. Here's the Zoom link. Hop in, bring your lunch. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Talk about the Yankees. You could talk about politics. You can talk about whatever you want. Talk about business. You can ask me what I'm thinking, my vision. How are we doing financially? You can talk about whatever. I think that's really powerful because then you feel connected to the mission of the company continuously, right? Because otherwise, if you have a leader or leadership that tends to be guarded or maybe not really interactive with the company or the team members below them in the in the org structure, in the org chart, it's very easy to hide behind Zoom. It's very easy to hide behind Slack. And so, you have to either the leadership takes the action to be more available, or hey, if you're not in leadership, it's okay to message and ask, and message the CEO, the CFO, like executive teams, people two steps ahead of you or above you in the org chart, and just say, hey, can I grab 15 minutes? you know can I grab 15 minutes? I'd love to hear. I've got a couple thoughts, a couple ideas, a couple things that I noticed. I'd love to run it by you. Guaranteed, man, like people that are in leadership, that are in executive level, they want to hear fresh
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
That's what that's the business of a leader is fresh ideas.
You'll
I'm
be
looking for fresh ideas.
you'll be very surprised once the kind of feedback they actually want, and they probably want that feedback more than the jabby jab they get from their managers anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And if you're like, let's just say you're like tier 1, like you're on the ground, you have the most access to your customers, for example, you have some ideas, you have some things that you've noticed, don't be afraid to share with your manager, but also share with your manager's manager and so forth, right? There's such a term as managing up and sharing your ideas that way. Start that, and if you get in trouble for that, you're probably in the wrong place, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, if you get in trouble for like reaching out to the CEO or
Yep.
whoever, like the senior, whatever C-suite people, um, you're probably
I
in the
go.
wrong place. You're probably in the wrong place, or you're being managed by the wrong person,
There's some
right? That has some
ego.
insecurities, right? And so, that's just some real talk there. But yeah, don't be afraid to share your ideas. That's something that'll carry you through your career, regardless, wherever you go.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, man. This is, I've always liked to put four questions in there, and this has been really enlightening. I appreciate you providing all your experience with the years that you've been working remotely and hybrid. So I appreciate, man. Where can we find you in the
Yeah.
interwebs?
Yeah. Dr. Elo, thank you again. Again, this is a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Love everything that you've been doing, and yeah, just glad to have you as a friend. And yeah, thank you for having giving me access to your community here and the podcast. Anybody wants to connect, I probably LinkedIn is probably the best. Really active there and sharing thoughts and ideas and my experience in my work life. Instagram as well, and then of course YouTube. I love creating on YouTube for a couple years now. So uh, just look me up, copy and paste my last name. It's really long, but you'll find me on most platforms.
I'll make sure I put all your information down in the description of the podcast so everybody can go ahead and access you. Rob has a lot of video on YouTube, man. I'm telling you, and he has a wealth of knowledge on how to build communities, and specifically this topic right here of how to work remotely. And he has managed to, you know, create boundaries like for this topic, create boundaries that actually work. And you can see it. You can see it. You can see Rob whenever he's online. There's he has Rob's other account that he has. You can see him having fun with the family and the family. Your kid, man, your kid, which is super big right now. He's growing, but you can
He's grown,
tell
man.
he's learning
Yeah.
fast too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's great, man. It's a great ride. I'm blessed to have it. So, be in it. Yeah. So, yeah, no, thank you, man. This is so much fun. We could do this for hours.
Right. Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. So, beyond office walls, navigating the remote work revolution. This is your podcast. If you haven't seen or heard the podcast yet, I have a QR code right here that you can actually just take your phone and check out the podcast via that method. Well, I thank you guys very much for being here. And this is Dr. Elo out. Peace.